So yesterday, H3H3 made a video responding to Some Ordinary Gamer's video on him titled The Hypocrisy of Ethan Klein. And since this video came out, Mutahar, who is Some Ordinary Gamers, has deleted his video and his response video to H3 Productions that was made before H3's response video to him. It's kind of confusing, but H3's video presented a couple of good points, but it was also some of those points I just don't feel like they add up or do a well enough job of combating what Mutahar had to say. While he did make a sloppy video and fuck up kind of one of his main points, overall, I think H3's response to it was a little sloppy in and of itself, and today I'm going to take a look at it in a little bit of a different way than I usually make videos. Usually we react to them in real time or whatever. Today I'm going to be cutting it up and playing his arguments. I feel like this video might be a little bit longer than my usual videos, so I feel like this is like the best way to accurately portray my arguments. Let's go ahead and get into Ethan's first point he presents in his video in response to Mutahar, that being the donation shaming argument.
My concern is his donation shaming and how hypocritical it fucking is, and it's something that has actually pissed me off enough to make this video. He looked at Jeff Bezos, said, wow, the richest guy in the world only gave $100 million, and just completely shat on it.
So I talked about how Amazon was only giving sick leave to people who test positive for coronavirus, which, I mean, admittedly is insane and obviously not donation shaming. I talked about Whole Foods asking its employees to donate their own sick days to other employees so they could take time off. Well, that's not donation shaming, but it is shitty. Now, just because I'm sure there's some people who are saying, well, it probably happened in a different podcast somewhere else, let me just reference you here now. He admits in a later video that I actually never said it. So let's just put that to rest right now. I immediately went and tweeted him a correction. I showed him the dates of the highlight and the podcast from which those came from. And I said, yo, these happened 15 days before Jeff Bezos ever donated. So obviously it would be temporarily impossible for me to have donation shamed him.
Okay, so this is really important to the central argument being made. And I showed you clips from Mutahar and from H3. Now I'm going to explain what it actually means. So Mutahar is talking about this tweet right here from H3H3 Productions dated March 19th, 2020. I'm curious if billionaires are going to ride or die for America in the next 12 weeks and mass produce ventilators, or if they will retreat to their apocalypse bunkers. We are about to find out if they have real value to our society or not. Hashtag where is Jeff Bezos? Our businesses are shut down, and all of our 20 employees are being paid their full salary and health insurance for the entire duration of this. I'm not really sure what more I can do than that. I don't have $130 billion with unlimited manufacturing capacity. There's also this clip dated the same date, March 19th, on his podcast channel, H3 Podcast Highlights, where it says, why is Jeff Bezos not doing more to help? Now, when this clip came out, Jeff Bezos had not made a single donation. However, later on, in April 2nd, articles would come out talking about how Jeff Bezos donated $100 million to American food banks. Mutahar's mistake was that he fucked up the timeline. These tweets and this podcast highlight are from before the donation was made by Bezos. After the donation was made by Bezos, H3 was quiet. Now this tweet right here does highlight an important point. It may be true that Ethan didn't shame Bezos, but he's still a hypocrite because he called Bezos out for being quiet about the virus. Then, when he actually donates a lot of money, Ethan goes dark and doesn't want to address it. This is true, but it doesn't help Mutahar out at all. Mutahar made the argument that Ethan donation shamed Jeff Bezos in this specific moment, when that simply didn't happen. So then, you might be wondering, well, why is this video titled Ethan H3H3 did in fact donation shame? Well, Ethan was very clear that he did not donation shame at any moment. However, in this podcast clip dated back in January 20th of 2020, where he talks about the Australian wildfires, he most certainly does donation shame right here. Now, before I play the clip, it is important to note, this is different from the coronavirus, but this is still an instance of Ethan donation shaming recently.
What I really wanted to say is that a lot of people have been donating a lot of money. Metallica donated $750,000. Chris, $750,000, obviously.
Metallica?
Yeah.
The band?
The band. Chris Hemsworth, Thor donated $1 million. DiCaprio donated $3 million. Wow. Kylie Jenner, DiCaprio.
DiCaprio.
Leonardo.
Nice.
Kylie Jenner 1 million, Elton John 1 million, Ethan and Ela Klein of Teddy Fresh 50,739. But then here's where my question comes in. Now, I'm not usually someone. Money is money. Donation is a donation. It's all good. But what do you make of Jeff Bezos donating $690,000?
A lot of people made the comparison of like that's literally equivalent of a middle class person donating, I don't know, $69 or something. I think that was
less.
Less. Yeah, I think it was like that was the argument.
I think it was.
He should have made that.
He makes that in 6 minutes.
Yeah. If you're gonna donate that little,
he makes that in 6 minutes.
Love it. That's incredible.
Well, the thing is, I have lots of rocket ships I need to shoot off.
So is that kind of a bitch move when you're like a?
I was wondering what's with the weird number. So it's $1 million Australian dollars. That's why it's a weird.
That's why it's so.
But he knows what a dollar is. He's saving himself money.
Yeah, Australian people buy from Amazon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
So there we have an instance of Ethan H3 donation shaming. He's pointing out specific rich people, looking at their amount and measuring that by, well, they have so much more, wealth, why are they donating such a little amount of, a few $1 million or whatever. Now again, this isn't the specific instance where he's talking on Jeff Bezos's $100 million donation in the coronavirus situation. This is about the Australian wildfire situation, so it's different, but it is still an instance of donation shaming. The problem with Mutahar is that he picked a shitty point. The only way I can see Mutahar's specific point being rectified is this argument, and you can feel free to agree or disagree or not. But this is the argument that could save Mutahar. H3 specifically talking about Jeff Bezos, saying where is Jeff Bezos, pressuring him to donate could in fact be labeled as donation shaming, right? Because he's shaming the person into donating. Now that's kind of, bending the lines, I feel like a little bit. I don't know if I fully subscribe to that argument, but it is something to throw out there and think about. Is H3 specifically pointing to a person who has a lot of money and saying, hey, you must donate. Where are you at, man? Is that a form of donation shaming? He's not shaming the person for the donation they made. It's more shaming the person to donate at all. But that could be, a donation shaming or a form of it, even if there's no donation being made. H3's next point is a little bit ridiculous here, if I have to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and play that.
And then it's also hypocritical because it's the same guy that lives in a $10 million fucking mansion, look it up.
So now he gets his fans all riled up about what an evil dude I am, and then encourages them to go find out where I live.
This argument about swatting or whatever is just laughably ridiculous. Obviously, by watching the Mutahar video, Mutahar is simply referencing the fact that H3, for someone who's so critical of the rich, it's kind of funny that he's also living in a $10 million mansion. And then he says, if you don't believe me, look it up. He's not saying look it up and find their address and hunt them down. He's not saying that at all, obviously, in the video. However, I am a little bit sympathetic towards Ethan on this point, more so than I would have been yesterday when I initially watched this video for the first time when it came out, and I was like, whoa, what is he talking about? Upon doing some research, I found out Ethan's had to deal with swatting recently. He actually talks about this in the video as well, but if you do some more digging online, you'll find out recently, like 6 months ago, he had to deal with a swatting attack. So, it's still fresh on his mind. Perhaps he's a little bit irrational when it comes to the whole swatting thing. He's a little bit sensitive to the topic because he's had to deal with it recently. But still, come on now. I can only be, sympathetic to an extent. I mean, for him to make this argument that Muta is riling up the fan base to get all angry at Ethan and then send them to his house or whatever, that's just straight up ridiculous. This is Ethan being sloppy on his video. If you type H3H3 mansion, tons of shit shows up. Google even highlights it yourself. And guess what? Not that I've gone out looking for the address, but, I clicked a couple articles and it does not reveal the location at all. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find the location if you wanted to, but it's not directly obvious. You actually have to go out and intentionally look for it. And, if somebody, who watches Muta's video gets the wild or crazy idea of, these guys are making some bad points in their podcast, let me just send in a SWAT team. Obviously, that's not Mutahar's fault because he never encouraged that or even remotely talked about that even happening. This is just Ethan being ridiculous. There's just no way, there's no two ways to cut it. The final argument I want to touch on today talks about Fupa, something I'm not too familiar with admittedly, but I'm going to try to dissect Muta's point, then show Ethan's counterpoint, and then explain my overall thoughts on this, as I think this point really went unchallenged largely by Ethan as he defended something, or rather an accusation Muta never made. Firstly, let's play Muta's argument.
But you're not going to do that, okay? You're not going to do it because this is the same individual that only acts out of self-fucking interest. Don't believe me? How about you look at the fucking Fupa fund? When has that shit been active? It's sitting there with $0 in the fund and he ain't doing shit with it. It wasn't even active at all. Yes, a fund designed to help YouTubers fight fair use issues. I guess it's not here anymore. I guess it's not functioning. Hey, shit, we forgot about it. It was great when it financed and served us, but I guess it don't serve us anymore, so fucking call it a day.
Fupa was a fund designed by H3H3 Productions to help YouTubers who were dealing with getting falsely copyright striked. The money put into the fund was used by Ethan to help pay for his lawsuit from Matt Haas when he was getting sued for reacting to his video. Now, in a post-lawsuit world, H3 doesn't use Fupa anymore in a time where Fupa could really honestly be, utilized, as people are still dealing with the same bullshit, if not more, today when it comes to copyright on YouTube. If billionaires have such a huge, immediate responsibility to help people in a time of crisis, then I think the argument Muta is trying to make is that Ethan should be protecting content creators who are getting fucked over by copyright by bringing Fupa back. He's making the argument that Ethan only acts out of self-interest because of Fupa, because Fupa was used to help Ethan, but now, when other people could really benefit from a system like Fupa, now it's no longer being put into use. If that's what Mutahar's argument really is, and I'm trampling on ground I'm not too familiar with admittedly, but this is my understanding of the argument. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But if that's what Mutahar's argument is, that if billionaires have a responsibility to protect the common people, so H3 has a responsibility to protect YouTubers from getting abused by the copyright system, then yeah, why not? Why is Fupa not put into use today? A system like Fupa would largely benefit the community today, just as much as it did back in 2016. H3 responds to this argument by clarifying where exactly the money went, which is a common question. Where did the money go?
All told, we ended up spending thousands and thousands of dollars of our own money on top of everything that was raised, but we were finally able to win the lawsuit. It does honestly dishearten me that the one truly, indisputably good thing I've done for the YouTube community has been turned into a conspiracy theory about how evil I am.
But when it comes to Muta's actual argument, H3 leaves that unanswered. Why is there no Fupa today? Does H3 have to bring Fupa back? No, not really, but billionaires also don't have to respond to a crisis directly by dumping half their income or whatever. It's the same type of argument.